Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Maher Abiad, and you're locked on to another cool episode of the SERP Concierge Show. Say what? Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to another amazing episode of the SERP Concierge Show. I'm your host, Maher Abiad, and today I'm very excited to have another amazing guest on the program today to talk about a little bit of a different topic in terms of starting up a business, not just any business, but a digital marketing business or a digital marketing agency. My good buddy, Mark Luckenbaugh, is on the air with me today. Mark, how you doing, my man?
Awesome. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity, and it's great to finally get on here after we've been chatting for a while.
I know we've been talking a long time about trying to get you on the air and just scheduling conflicts and whatnot. And finally, good to have you on board. Let's start out by getting to know a little bit more about you. What's going on so far? 2016. How's your 2016 going so far?
Incredible. I set it up at the end of 2015 to. I was busy then, and I wanted to make it a little bit busier, but a different kind of busy. So my main focus in 2016 is creating audiences with a certain type of interest and building a series of micro businesses around that audience where, they're all offering, an immense amount of value. And the main goal is to make each one of these little micro businesses do, a minimum of 10 to 20,000 a month, and to build a series of them around an audience. That way you're not launching a business where you have to go out and procure a new audience for every single business. It's not a good 80-20, So
yeah.
that's my main focus, is just creating micro businesses in a series of niches where I have a substantial audience.
And that's a great idea, because actually if it's not like you're putting your eggs in one basket. So if something doesn't work, obviously other things have a chance to pick up, and you just, put your efforts more into that. I know you've been obviously in internet marketing and digital media for a long time, but for those that don't know too much about you, give me a little brief of your history, how you got started, your aha moment to get into obviously SEO, digital media.
Cool. So it actually started when I was a kid. I was long time ago. It's starting to become, but I started out helping people promote their business on MySpace, and I was 17 maybe.
Wow.
It was back then, and it was a little bit of money. It wasn't anything. I wasn't crushing it. I wasn't a $1 million, 17-year-old or anything like that. But it definitely piqued my interest, where I'm like, hey, this is a viable model. Like, you can really do this. And I started kind of getting into it. I don't want to say as a hobby, but it wasn't my main focus. And I saw a lot of people younger than me and, right around my age, actually revolutionizing SEO and digital marketing. And I'm like, man, this is incredible. This is viable. And I actually went in a different direction. In my early 20s, I had equity in two medium-sized construction companies, where I handled a lot of like the day-to-day infrastructure, the marketing, obviously, stuff like that. And that's the point where I had an opportunity to sell my equity in both of those businesses. Actually, it was the full. It was the full everything I owned, the everything, the full business. And I took that opportunity and went full time with a family member doing digital marketing, and then essentially branching off on my own. And that was about 7 years ago. And here I am.
Wow, that's a great start. I mean, it's always great to ask all my guests how they got started, because everybody honestly has such a diverse background, from having a day job or whatnot, and then just having that aha moment to say, you know what, I want something different, and this is the path I'm going to take, and then the things from there just branch off. So
yeah, and there's a lot more interesting stories than mine, for sure, but that's how it happened.
Appreciate that. Today I want to dive into why in 2016 it's so important for everybody out there that's maybe on the fence of wanting to start an SEO, digital marketing, not just SEO and specifically. I know we've been talking about that in a few episodes, but more about a web design agency, a social media marketing agency, email marketing, because all of them actually really, really tie together. When you're doing consulting or anything in digital media, if you look at any of the big players in the space, everything is tied in. They have to do a bit of social. They have to do a bit of email marketing. They have to do a little bit of website design, on-page conversion, landing pages, pay-per-click even. Obviously, right now, being, even if you want to be a Google partner, you have to have a minimum spend of, clients spending on the AdWords network. So there's all these encompassed into it. So I wanted to ask you to, kind of spill the beans on what it's going to take. What are the first steps? Let's start off with what are the first steps it's going to take somebody to get a digital marketing agency off the ground?
I think the biggest, and that's an awesome question, and I'm so glad this is the direction we're taking, because I feel like SEO, I'm getting burnt out on it. I teach SEO so much. This is really refreshing, so I'm excited for this. The biggest thing people have to do is identify a problem that business owners have, and they have to almost, before they even decide what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, they need to identify a problem that they can solve.
Right.
And then they need to understand how that problem actually affects a specific business they're going after. So the problems a Fortune 750 have is going to be vastly different from the problems a mom and pop shop on the corner are going to have.
Exactly.
So you need to kind of identify your customer profile right off the bat. Do I want to target attorneys, which it's a whole other thing. You don't just go and say, hey, I'm going to target attorney. We have a legal marketing agency, and it's a very special type of customer to go after. Do you want to target dentists? Do you want to just target small business, big business? You kind of have to identify who you want to target, the problems they have, and then start solving those problems. Now, I completely agree with you that when you start getting into larger budget clients, you have to have like a full stack arsenal in your toolbox. You have to be able to offer, the reputation management, super important. If you have a personal injury attorney and they have reputation issues, those cases could be costing, the cases they lose from having the bad rep could be costing them millions of dollars per year. So that's a major problem, as opposed to a mom and pop shop where it might cost them, couple grand a year in lost business. It's a vastly different issue. So, you need the full stack with the bigger businesses, the bigger budgets. That's where the SEO is worth a lot more. The online rep is so much more important. The aesthetic features of the website so important, where everything has to be top notch and there has to be a certain branded appeal where it's like, wow, this person's really right for me. And you kind of, so that varies, but you can also get away. Something we've been doing more is not so much, we still obviously do a lot of digital marketing client work, but, we've been getting a lot more into activity-based things instead of results-based. So it's, selling SaaS solutions to businesses and, stuff like that. The thing is, technology and just the savviness of some of the product creators in the marketing space has advanced so much that there's so many solutions you can give to a business that, when I first started, it just wasn't that. There was a lot of opportunity, but it exponentially increased through new tools and different softwares that automate different portions of a client's business. And there's so many different solutions now that there's really no excuse why someone can't master a solution and jumpstart their business.
That's perfect, and that's the main key is how big do you want to get this, or do you want to stay small? Do you want to kind of work with local clients? Do you want to work with national clients? And this is the thing, and this is going to lead up to where we're going right now. The next question for you is: a lot of people are working a day job right now, 9 to 5, and time is a very precious commodity that they have.
Oh, yeah.
Can you start a digital marketing agency, a business like this, while working a full-time job?
I know people that are. I know people that are in the mix. I know people that have. I know people that are on the bottom tier of where they're working, 9 to 5 at the day job, and then they come home and it's 6 to midnight working on this. And here's the big caveat with that. Firstly, I really respect the work ethic, and that's the work ethic that's essentially can make you successful. Mm-hmm. Okay, the biggest thing is I understand the fear, and it's a warranted fear of, just walking away from a 6-figure a year job and giving the marketing thing a shot. That's a pretty big leap of faith, and a lot of gurus, they'll sit and say, oh, just take action and take that next step. And it's easy to say, but that's pretty risky, is to say, hey, you know what, I'm giving up 120K a year to try to grow a new business, and I have a family and a house. And so firstly, I respect the work ethic, and I understand why they do it. The biggest problem comes in on your time management. And first, time's a finite resource. People don't respect their time enough. They don't value it enough.
Exactly.
That's the one thing. You can get money back. I can lose all my money and I can get it back. This minute I can't get back. We're very limited. Time's the most finite resource we have in our arsenal. So I encourage people to spend it wisely. I encourage people to make calculated risks. But at the same time, it's easy for someone who already has an established business to say, hey, don't be scared. Just jump into the world and do it. Just give up this great salary and take the risk. That's easy for us to say. But, from a logical perspective, it isn't. It sounds erroneous to the person sitting like, well, man, I have a kid to feed. I can't just take this risk. So the biggest thing I'd say is just don't overwhelm yourself by doing all the work yourself for maximum profits. Mm-hmm. So if you have a job, leverage outsourcing solutions, leverage, services that are highly rated or, well spoken of, have a lot of testimonials. Try to outsource as much as you can. And then once the profit you make after outsourcing covers your expenses, that's when you can look at, okay, how much of this can I now bring in-house to increase my profit margins? And then you can look at essentially quitting your job. But you have to just manage your time right. Outsource as much as possible and make a smaller profit margin initially. And that way you can work your job, you can have that security, that financial security, but you can still build your passive income. And then the big key is going to be, when you're ready to make that transition, pull as many of the tasks, from the outsourced or the service-based solution into a VA or an in-house or yourself. And that's when your profit margins shoot up and you can say, hey, I can walk away from the job now. So it just has to be done intelligently. You do have to take the action and get off your ass and do it, but it has to be done intelligently. And I don't encourage anyone to say, hey, I'm walking away from $100K or a $250,000 a year job and I'm just going to give this a shot. So yeah. There's my 2 cents on it.
No, I agree with you on 2 main points. Obviously, it's the family issue and commitment issue. It's a huge fear for somebody. Like you said, somebody from the other side who's already an established business. It's like, just, jump right in and learn. But that emotional aspect for the person that doesn't know what's on the other side of the fence and has, like you said, a kid to feed. It's a really, really scary thing, but the potential and the possibilities are really there. And what it brings to the table, that freedom that it brings to the table, are key. The other point, you mentioned, which I 100%, tell everybody as well, is your time is extremely valuable. And like you said, you cannot get it back.
Right.
And speaking of time, we'll jump into the next point here. What is it going to take, like, in terms of how much time do you need to commit a day, a week, a month to your business? Let's specifically talk about time now.
Okay, so this is interesting, and this is going to be subject to opinion. And my personal experience, your personal experience. I'm pretty sure you started building your agency while you had a job, right? So you understand the time constraints are going to be different from person to person, and Absolutely. How much you want to put in. Yes, and good. Congrats on that. You're the success story from there. So that's perfect, man. Congrats. But here's the thing with the time. I know the 4-hour work week. A lot of people, I don't think, got the real concept when they read that book. And
no, I agree with you 100%. The title sold. Great book though, but.
People thought, hey, this book's going to teach me how to get rich working 4 hours a week. And realistically, it was about time management. It was about 80-20ing your time to get the maximum results for the little hours as possible. And a lot of people miss that concept, and they're like, hey, how come I'm working 15, 20 hours a week and I'm not rich, or 5 hours, 10 hours? And here's the thing. anything you put into your business is exactly what you're going to get back out. It's like your business is like anything else, a relationship, a friendship. Oh my goodness, a board game.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, if you only concentrate, you're half-witted when you play chess, you're going to lose. If you know what I mean? If you don't pay attention watching a movie, you're not going to understand the plot points. If you don't put anything into something, you're not going to get anything out.
Right.
You can extrapolate that across business, relationships, anything. I mean, if you don't play with your dog, he's going to be like, why aren't you playing with him? You're not going to have that bond with your animals. It's everything, That's a silly example, but, it's true. So the thing is, I probably work way too much. So I'm not a good advocate for an 80-20 lifestyle. I try to 80-20 my actions. I try to 80-20 what I do, but instead of leveraging that 80-20 and then sitting back and saying, hey, man, I got a lot done this week for minimal effort, I put in 60, 70, 80 hours that week. And I'm like, hey, I got a lot more done than I would have, otherwise. So I'm probably not the best guy to talk about work-life management, the balance, I mean, because I work too much. And a lot of us are guilty of that. That's all we see, though. If you look, the big guys are telling you hustle, grind, get up. And that's kind of beaten into our heads. And it's like, I 100% agree. Like, you have to put that effort in, and especially in the infancy of your business. But here's the best advice I could give, and I've really been concentrating on this about the past year or so.
Yeah.
Especially with the time LCT's been taking from me, because essentially when we did that, initially we didn't profit anything from it. It was just something we gave back to the community. Mm-hmm. So it took time. So I kind of had to, sit back and reevaluate, how can I manage my time better to get maximum results and not be drinking Red Bulls and working 20 hours a day. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, speaking of that, in terms of, trying to grow your business, the key a lot of people do ask is, the next point that I wanted to jump into is, where do you actually do all this work? For a lot of people, they're like, wow, I need to spend all this capital to maybe, get an office, furniture, computers, all this stuff. Like, do you need an office, or can you work from home? Or what are some of the best options for somebody just starting out?
Oh, you can definitely do it from home. There's a big community of digital nomads who just travel the world and work from their laptop.
Yeah, the laptop lifestyle, for sure. We've seen, a lot of people on Facebook or Instagram posting their pictures. I see it all the time, and I love it. Sitting on, the beautiful blue water of Bora Bora with, your MacBook Pro. It's amazing, but,
yes. So I guess the reality kicks in, and, that's great for like a young bachelor or a young couple without kids, maybe.
Yeah.
Or it depends a lot. Like for me, I have a 5-year-old son,
right?
And he has friends here. He goes to school here. He's attached. He attached to his family here. So for me to go and just travel the world isn't really a reality. He'd miss his grandparents, his little cousins he plays with. I mean, he'd be distraught. So that's cool. But for me, my main thing when I went to get an office is, I had a really nice home office I put together for, quite a while. I used that. And then it was time where I wanted to eliminate some of the VAs. I don't want to say eliminate. I wanted more responsibility in-house where I could have granular control over like some of the client management and stuff. And that's at the point where, you kind of have to make the dive into an office.
Yeah. And speaking of what you just said, costs are really obviously the make it or break it for a lot of people. A lot of people starting out, they're working a day job, they maybe can put a little bit of money into this, to start that capital to get going. What are some of the costs to get an agency up and running? And a kind of secondary point to this, one of the biggest costs obviously is manpower, resources, human, workers, employees. If you can kind of tie those in together, in terms of what are some of the costs and what are the resources that you need to get started?
Okay, so that's a good question, and it's kind of twofold. So if you want to do the laptop lifestyle, you can do that. You can scale your business and you can outsource most of the work. And when I say outsource, I mean where just you're not doing it. Outsource probably you can insource as well, where you have someone that handles the client management that you pay, and you can have virtual assistants from wherever that handle fulfillment, and this and that. So a lot of it's going to depend on what type of margin you're going after, how much skin you want in the game, if you will, how much work you're willing to put in, and are you willing to get belly to belly with your employees, your clients. That's going to be an important thing. So for me, that was the direction I went. I didn't want to be a digital nomad. I wanted a real brick and mortar agency, if that makes sense. And so without the office space, because that's just a variable that's going to differ from place to place and taste and everything else. What you really need is to figure out if you're going to outsource and use services, or if you're going to hire VAs. And that's going to be your biggest. The costs there are, again, you're going to probably make outsourcing 100%. You're probably going to be at 30-40% profit margins if you're pricing right to the client. Doing it all in house. It's really easy to see if you hire right, fire right. It's really easy to see 70+% margins. So,
yeah, and that's the thing. My speaking personally, my business is thankfully grown, and I've had to obviously, you get to the point where you're doing so much on your own. You're like, you reach your kind of breaking point where you're like, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. I need help. And you realize you need to bring someone in. So I've definitely used VAs, the great website, onlinejobs.ph, for outsourcing a VA for anything, just admin tasks, transcription, whatever you want. So a little bit to this is now in sort of the human resources. What about the sort of the digital resources, like the tools, like the software for your business? What are some of those tools that someone might not think about needing? What are some of those that they might want to pick up?
So here's something. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. But there's a lot of really neat tools that do a lot of really neat things. Mm-hmm. Here's the honest truth: is you don't need a lot of those tools.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to need something to run technical analysis.
Yeah.
If you're going to be an SEO, you have to know the technical issues with the websites.
Right.
Screaming Frog's free. And the free it gives you is huge. I know we're getting a little into SEO specific here, but this is just an example.
For sure.
No matter what you're doing, there's going to be a different cost of tools. If you're doing media buys for your clients, and you probably are going to have to get like a what runs where account, and that can be like $250, $500 a month. So the cost of tools is going to be relative to your offering.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big caveat. Again, if you're selling a piece of software, you might pay a couple $100 a month to be able to white label the software, and you might pay $5, $10, $20 a month to actually, for each client then. So your markup on that, then your cost. There's not a whole lot more cost there. So again, it depends on your service offering, but for SEO, you need something to perform the technical audits, which you can do for free. Now you also have things that you can put together beautiful client reports. Power Suite, they just updated their reports, look pretty nice. There's that other, what's that other one? I can't even remember off the top of my head. It's a web based instead of downloadable. Mm-hmm. I can't think of the name off the top. I apologize. And some type of competitive analysis tools helps. Some people use SEMrush, some people use Majestic or Ahrefs, something like that. And other than that, then you can get crazy with analytics tools. You can get a bunch of tools that integrate with you make agency dashboards that integrate with Google and all the social profiles, or you can take a half hour in Google Analytics and set up custom dashboards that automatically send out to your client. So again, it's a lot about who you're going after and what you have to show them. So for a high-end attorney, you should have a client dashboard. It should look beautiful. Other things they should be able to see their KPIs at a glance.
Yeah.
For a $997 to $1,500 a month client, they're just going to be more, you don't have to go above and beyond for the cosmetic appeal. I would set, we would set them up with custom reporting and Google Analytics that would automatically trigger out for them. So that, again, I mean, the cost is going to be relative. The biggest thing I could tell someone is don't get crazy with tools. It's easy to say, man, look what this could do for my business, right? And that goes from any tool is going to be able to offer a benefit to your business. So what you need to do is sit down and say, how can this tool create an ROI for me immediately? And if you can't think of a way to implement that tool, that service, that product into your arsenal and have it start generating an ROI immediately, I don't think you should buy it, and that's my personal opinion. I'm really big on any type of investment, whether it's in a tool, a software, that could be custom development or buying something off the market. Everything I do has to have a projected ROI in the future, in the near future.
That's a really good point. And speaking from personal experience, I know when I first really got started, I try to keep the costs down, and I only had a few tools. Like, for example, when I was doing client consulting for a website design project or an SEO project, I would use for billing, for example, FreshBooks, and I would tie that up to Stripe. There's a great integration with Stripe, and it would automatically charge the customer. And if it was like a monthly SEO client, you can set it up in FreshBooks to automatically charge and send out an invoice, a receipt every month. So it's a very hands-off. And I remember for the phone system, I used a really, really cool tool called Grasshopper. And, it's a great IVR where somebody calls in and it's a beautiful welcome message. And, you can press 1 for this, press 2 for that, department, and press this for the company directory. And it really makes your business, at a very, very small cost. Like, we're talking, less than $20 a month. You can actually sound like a professional organization. And even things like you were mentioning, SEMrush, and obviously I was using SERPbook and SERPWoo just to have the ranking, ranking reports just sent out automatically. So, you can keep your costs down. There's not too much you need, but you can, at the same time, there are a few tools that will definitely make you look like a professional organization and help your brand and professionalism working with clients. So that's awesome.
Yeah, completely agree, man. That's a great tip. I mean, it's little things like that, little inexpensive things can give you that perceived positioning that's going to give you an ROI at some point in your business.
Exactly. And that
Great
actually
advice.
segues. Yeah. And that actually segues to this next point. You're trying to make yourself look professional. You're obviously being professional. What about scaling now? Now it's been, you've been doing this for a few months, a few years. What does the scaling process look like? How do you actually get from working from home on a laptop by yourself as a one-man show to a big corporate office with like 10, 20, 30 people, like, dedicated web designers, dedicated SEO specialists, like a sales team, a receptionist? What does that process look like?
That's a really good question. That's going to differ from business to business. So there's 2 main things you need to scale. Actually, I'm going to call it 3 for just about any business, but especially for, how I've scaled my agencies, is you need a fulfillment team. You need to be able to handle the new orders you bring in. You need a lead generation machine and sales team. Let's couple that into one. So you need to be able to generate the new customers, close them. And then you also need support / client management / that stuff. So in lack of, technical jargon, you need someone to manage the client. They should be upselling the client farther down the road, making sure the client's happy with the reports, happy with the results. They're handling any queries. They're taking care of all of that. So, and you need that to retain the client. You need to have a line of communication. I know everyone wants to, just set and forget and rank sites or perform social media marketing and not have to ever talk to the client. That's unrealistic in a client-based agency. You have to try a different model if you don't want to talk to people, because when you have clients, there's a lot of things to deal with and a lot of headaches. There is.
Absolutely.
But, the biggest thing I'd say is scale slow. Make sure, if you've found a new client acquisition strategy that's working well for you, A lot of people are quick to just head for the hills. They're like, we want as many clients as possible, but then they're not scaling their client management and their fulfillment infrastructure along with it. So it's a balance. It's a big balance. See, we did things a little different, but not every business can. We had the capital to invest into our fulfillment infrastructure. So we had custom tools built to help the process. We hired a massive team. We invested a lot of time and money into training resources for new hires and the existing team. So our fulfillment capability was through the roof. And because of that, we then kind of pivoted and said, listen, in order to kind of get the ROI, we invested into, scaling our fulfillment infrastructure. Now we have to dump a bunch of money into our client acquisition infrastructure and our sales team and our processes there. So whatever you do, you just have to, my biggest advice, if you're not capital heavy, is to really take your time scaling. If you find a kind of water spigot, if you will, that you can kind of turn on and off and get a bunch of clients or sell a bunch of your product, then make sure as you're scaling that up slowly, you're also quantifying how your fulfillment team and your client management and support team is coping with a new business. And if they start to struggle, dial the acquisition back and start working on that. So the biggest mistake you can make is scaling too fast. And the biggest mistake you make is, out of fear of failing or not being able to handle something, scaling too slow. So just keep a steady pace that isn't going to implode your infrastructure, and just go for it.
No, it's such a rewarding experience, and that leads me to the next point I wanted to talk about is, after hearing all this, all the things you need to do, all the things you don't, shouldn't be doing, why especially in 2016, why should anybody be getting into digital media marketing? And for me personally, my 2 cents, I think it's one of the most rewarding types of businesses and types of business models that you can get into. Just because if you are a people person, it's wonderful, because you do definitely have to interact with clients. Like, you'll always get a client, oh, give me an update or whatnot, how are things going? And you have to really be a people person. And you want to definitely be able to scale, because there will come a point where you cannot do everything. So great points that you brought up with that. You definitely want to always keep it in the back of your mind. Being a business owner, being that entrepreneur, it's about, guiding the ship, like being the captain of the ship, making sure everybody else is on point, doing the job. So for me personally, if anybody's watching this, listening on YouTube, and also listening to it on the podcast, if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about, getting into, and you don't have to be a specialist in all these points that we talked about: email, video, social, SEO, website design. Even if you're good at one or two of these things, it's okay. Start off with that, and then you can bring in experts who know things that you don't know to cover the parts to help a customer with an aspect. If you don't know web design and for example, email marketing, that's no problem. Focus on the email marketing, bring an expert in on the website design. What are your thoughts in terms of why somebody should jump into this in 2016?
Here's the thing. For digital marketing, it's still some of the best ROI you can show a business when it comes to marketing in general. Anything digital, it's very easy to build attribution models to see where your clients are coming from, where your clients' customers are coming from. That's what I mean.
Right.
It's very easy to build those attribution models and to be able to show them, this is exactly the results that I brought your business. And, business in general is just the backbone of our economy. It feels good to be able to help people achieve goals in their business. It's a lot of fun. Also, just the ability to market your own businesses. once you get a solid grip on how to do these different things, and once you, like you said, you meet different experts who can assist in different areas of your business, being able to market your own businesses is the most powerful thing. You have the world at your fingertips. You can start a business and market it, and that's powerful. There's a lot of people that can't do that. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses fail every day. And in this industry, you get to save some of those businesses. Some of those businesses who don't get, they'll never rank on search engines because they don't have the time or know how to do what we do. They don't have time to build and keep up with a successful social media marketing campaign. They don't have time to make videos and make sure the videos syndicate and get traffic and they can sell their product. Business owners don't have the time, so by doing this, we're saving businesses. We're saving the businesses that would have normally failed. We're starting businesses that instead of failing, you can market them and you can grow the business. And it's powerful. It's very powerful. And like I said, you don't have to be a technical wizard anymore to get into this stuff. There's software you can white label and sell. There's tons and tons of solutions that you can just give to businesses, and it's incredible. So many different things other than SEO or generating leads with paid ads and stuff. There's so much you can do for business that's just, it's crazy. We would have never even thought of it a decade ago, and now just anyone can wake up and say, I want to really provide a solution for a business, and they can do it. And that's powerful.
That's amazing. And the one thing you did mention that I really, have such an attachment to is the fact that everything from a digital online world is measurable. So your KPIs, your stats, whatever the case may be. If you're looking at offline media, like, excuse me, television ads, radio ads, yellow pages, physical book, whatever the case may be, you have a really, really hard time trying to measure your ROI on that. But with digital media, you have analytics, you have rank trackers, you have a ton of any action. Like you can check how many retweets my tweet got, how many likes this got, how many new people liked me on Facebook because of this campaign. This pay-per-click ad had this percentage conversion rate. Like everything to the finite level is tracked. And that's the beauty about digital online marketing is you're able to say at any point what's working, what's not working, have that history compared to any other in time type of marketing platform, like a magazine ads or even a flyer, sending out, I know, for example, for real estate agents, they do a lot of mail ads, flyers in the mail. But how do you quantify, is that working? Because there's a lot of costs with offline medium. Like it's not cheap to put in a TV spot. Only certain revenue type businesses can do that. A small mom and pop type business cannot do that. But with, say, AdWords, a pay-per-click campaign, or Facebook ads, or even Twitter ads, you can now compete with the big guys, and you can actually say, this is working, this is not working. I'm going to put my money here. You can use like call tracking, like Callfire, for example. I've used before. Amazing. You can actually say, you can put a different phone number in different Facebook ads and different website landing pages. And then you can actually see over time which one is bringing you your most ROI. And then you can actually now, instead of wasting your money on campaigns that aren't working, you just shift your marketing dollars to a channel that's actually bringing you your best ROI. So amazing world that we live in, and I'm so thankful to be in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In closing, let's jump into a question I always ask people. It's if you go back into a time machine, back to when you started, what's one thing that you wish somebody told you before you got started that you would have, liked to have known beforehand?
That's a good one. I don't have anything prepared for that off top. I'm a big believer in, kind of using past mistakes as learning experiences and not really dwelling on them.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to come up with something, it's actually not what I didn't know. It's what I was told and chose to ignore.
Oh, okay. Perfect. What was that?
That's a big thing. I mean, it's a lot of different things. It's easy, especially when you're younger. You have, I don't want to call it an arrogance, but it's like a hard-headedness where you're like, hey, I'm doing really well. I don't really need advice. And that's the worst mindset to ever have. Now I try to educate myself and learn from others that are doing better than me every day. And that was a big transition. You need to make their transition if you really want to reach any level of success. And I'm still climbing. I mean, I want a monstrous level of success. I don't want to be complacent. But the biggest thing I think was something I read from Neil Patel a while ago. It was quite a while ago, I think. It might have even been a little bit before him. I might have heard it somewhere else as well, but they said that like anything you do, monetize right away. And that's now why I have the mindset of if I don't see an ROI, a potential ROI in the very near future, I don't do it. Mm-hmm. I don't really move towards it. I'm not a long-time investor when it comes to the digital stratosphere because things change over time. It's not intelligent to make long-term investments in a lot of digital strategy. It changes so much. The digital landscape evolves multiple times per year, and tech's evolving every day. It's difficult to do that, but that's the main thing. That's the main mistake I made, was putting in a lot of work without monetizing it or having a foreseeable ROI in the very near future. And I really just have to reiterate that everything you do, you should have and not like you should do everything strictly for profit. I'm not trying to push that mindset, but if you're going to invest a lot of energy in something, you should really look at monetizing it. There needs to be some type of end game there, and it should be sooner rather than later, because it's just best practice. If not, you're investing a lot of hours into something that isn't giving you anything back.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Digital media, the change is incredible. Every day there's something new. So you definitely don't want to waste your time because, there's the next new thing coming out. So, you definitely want to keep your eyes always open on the next opportunity. So
yeah,
what are some of the mistakes, just in closing, what are some of the mistakes that you see other digital media businesses make that you're facepalm, that you can, let them know, hey,
not investing in their businesses. And I don't just, I mean, I'm talking like a broad picture. So I get asked a lot, like, the other day on a Webby, I was on a Webby for one of my mastermind groups, and someone was like, hey, can we get the contact info for your developers? And I was like, well, I can't do that because they're like mine. And like I actually hired the developers, and once I give contact info out with the size community I have, I become old news. Like you know what I mean? A surge of people hit, and I usually share a lot of my resources. But for the developers, it took me a long time to find the few groups of developers that I have that were good. And I see a lot of people are fearful of just going and hiring people because they can get lackluster results. Let's be serious. You can get a lot of lackluster results, but that's how I found the devs I have, is through trial and error and hiring and firing. And, that's just, it is what it is. And people, if you really want, like people say, hey, where can I get good VAs? Because my VA is terrible that I just hired. And it's like, I understand. I completely understand, because I have a very large VA team right now. And I got that through hiring, firing. You hire fast and fire faster. But you have to be willing, and some people can't, and I completely understand that, and I'm sensitive to that, but you have to be willing to hire, put the money out to hire, and have them complete micro tasks to kind of vet them. It's really important, and it's a process. It's an ongoing process all of the time, and it does cost a bunch of money. By the time you hire them, have them do some tasks, essentially have to pay your existing crew to clean up what they did wrong or with the mistakes they made, it can get expensive. And it's the same thing with like acquisition. A lot of people come to me around like the 5,000 a month mark. They grew it to $5,000 a month, which, they're paying bills, they're surviving, but 60K a year, they're not really, they want more, and that's awesome. They should want more. And they say, what's the next step? And I'm like, well, you have to get uncomfortable. I understand you're surviving right now, but you need to look at how much money you're spending frivolously, your frivolous expenditures each month. Eliminate that, make yourself uncomfortable, and invest that back in your business. Because if you have this many clients and you're making this much, you need that many more clients to double your income. So you already know what you need to do. It's either refusing to reinvest, not making yourself financially uncomfortable enough to come up with the capital to reinvest, or something along those lines, and that's just all it is to it. It's the not investing enough in their business. I invest so heavily out of just into new micro businesses, my existing businesses, new products for my existing businesses. That way we can maximize the customer value if we create new products for existing clients, to buy. So you have to reinvest in your business, and you have to do it responsibly. If you're making 10, 15 grand a month, you probably shouldn't, if on client work, you probably shouldn't take a huge chunk of money and start developing some type of software to sell to someone. That's not the best spend of your money. It's not the best investment. You should try to grow your client base to 30K a month and then see if that software development looks more logical at that point. So just some examples. But that's the biggest thing, is people not investing in their business. You have to invest in your business. You have to invest in yourself. And that's the biggest thing. You have to invest. I know I sound redundant, but there's months where I take a much smaller salary, and I invest in a borderline irresponsible amount of money into something. But if I can see if I can project a near future ROI, I'm gonna get aggressive and I'm going to do it. And that's worked really well for me the past few years.
No, I love that that piece of advice. It's like a plant. Your career, your business is like a plant. Exactly. If you don't feed it, if you don't water it, if you don't give it nutrients, sunshine, it's gonna die out. And the same thing, you have to take it with your business. You gotta always and that leads back to what we were talking about, scaling. You have to take some of that income and reinvest it in the business, because that's how you're going to get bigger and bigger. That's how you're going to scale. You're going to be able to hire more people. You're going to be able to spend more on marketing dollars. You're going to be able to bring in more customers, and that just snowballs to grow your business over time. So thank you so much, Mark, for stopping by the Serp Concierge show. It's been an amazing episode. We definitely want people to get in touch with you. What is the best way somebody can reach out if they want to make contact with you?
That's odd. I'm not really on Twitter a whole lot. I don't get onto my LinkedIn as much as I should. I have a Facebook group where we deal with a lot of marketers who want to take on clients, and we're actually looking at expanding that into a larger, more just general digital marketing brand. But at the time, we do have the Facebook group Local Client Takeover. We have the website localclienttakeover.com, where we are we have a bunch of free training in there. It's mostly, like I said, local marketing centric, obviously. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty cool, and I'm very active and engaged in our free group. It's Local Client Takeover on Facebook, and it's a nice community. It goes a lot broader than local in there a lot as well. There's so many experts that gravitated towards the group. There's so many people that came into the group making a minimal amount of money and have just exponentially increased the money they make, and they're grateful because they did it based on the advice from our training and the group that they give back now. And it's incredible, as you see people get busier and they're in the group less, and like other people who learned from them and learned from us start to get busier in the group to help out. It's a really cool ecosystem that we built of marketers that just help each other. There's a lot of value. lots of opinions, lots of awesome conversations. So whether you're local marketing centric or not, I would advise, I mean, it's a great place to go in. You can ask anything from, I mean, if you talk about funnels and how to charge for, AdWords and, anything, I mean, you're going to get just a slew of professionals in there that, we have guys in there making millions and millions and millions of dollars per year. I mean, we're in there very active. We grew 7-figure businesses, and it's a lot of really cool insight, and it's just fun, man. I guess I'm biased because it's mine, but
yeah, no kidding.
It's a lot of fun, man, and I really encourage people to get in there. It's great.
And definitely we'll be linking to all those sites in the show notes so people can check it out down below as well.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mark Luckenbaugh, on the SERP Concierge Show. We would definitely love to have you on again in the future, talking about a different topic, of course. But thank you again for your time, and we hope the best of 2016 for you and your business going forward.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Same to you. I had a lot of fun.
Appreciate that. Thanks again, Mark. Take care.
Take care.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do share it. The pure value amazing content does not end there though. You can now watch more amazing episodes that are in the boxes beside me. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel right now for more amazing content as it comes out.